and he ended up having a heart attack while he was mowing the lawn. Me and my brother went and found him. Like, we were riding bikes out front and found him, and then went to the neighbors. So the neighbors ended up calling, and like ever since then, my mom turned to drugs after all that. She told me like some of her story behind it and how sick he was with even her. Apparently he planned on murdering all of us, and then he ended up dying.
Have Khelsa.
Kelsa.
It's Kelso from that 70s show, but it's Khelisa is your name, Brunner.
Yes.
We have Khelisa Brunner with us today. I have screwed that up now 4 times since you got here. Never met you before in person. Excited to hear your story. So let's dive into your childhood. Are you born and raised Ohio?
Yes.
Columbus, Ohio?
Yes.
Okay. So tell us how you grew up.
Okay. So as from like 0 to 5, I was with my parents. My dad and my half brother on my dad's side was very emotionally, mentally, and sexually abusive with me, as well as there's a lot of times where they did things that would harm me and my brother on my mom's side. My dad and him were into like smoking weed and selling weed, and me and my other brother on my mom's side have been through a lot of trauma. We got put in an oven.
Hold on. Okay. We're going to have to talk about that.
Okay.
You got put in an oven. What
Yeah.
does that mean?
So my brother on my dad's side is very sick. Just
Like mental health issues?
yes.
Okay.
Like, I want to say evil. I don't know if
Okay.
that's allowed on this podcast.
No,
or
you
what's allowed on
can
this
say
podcast.
whatever you want.
Okay.
It's everything goes.
Okay. So my dad and my brother on my dad's side, like, very evil people. Okay.
Now, do you think this is like intentionally evil or like a mental health thing or a combination?
Probably a combination.
Okay.
Because my brother on my dad's side never got help, and he's in jail right now.
Okay.
And my dad died when I was 5.5, so I found him dead out back with my brother on my mom's side.
At 5.
At 5.5, yeah, I was like 5.
You found
right
him?
before 6.
Like you found him personally?
Yes. So he had a heart attack. He had kidney problems, and he was like on dialysis. He had a heart attack because he didn't go to dialysis, I guess. And he ended up having a heart attack while he was mowing the lawn. Me and my brother went and found him. Like, we were riding bikes out front and found him, and then went to the neighbors. So the neighbors ended up calling, and like ever since then, my mom turned to drugs after all that. She told me like some of her story behind it and how sick he was with even her. Apparently he planned on murdering all of us, and then he ended up dying.
And that's what your mother told you?
Yes. And then I went with my grandparents shortly after, along with my brother on my mom's side. So we were raised by my grandparents on my mom's side.
Okay.
She continued with drugs throughout her entire life. She never really got it and passed away not getting, not being able to get clean and do the thing. She had a lot of mental health stuff and went through a lot of trauma and abuse as well.
And that happened when you were younger?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I stayed with her for a little while before I got adopted by my grandparents. And I was sexually abused and everything from birth to 6. And I never really dealt with it. I guess your brain just kind of shuts it off.
Tries to block the memory out, or like it was a dream, or like it was, yeah.
Right. So my grandparents are strong Christian Baptist people. So
which is a change.
One extreme to another.
Yep.
So I grew up in the church. I went to missions trips, West Virginia, New York, Virginia, like all over the place. I was camp counselor at these Christian camps. And when I was about 13, my grandmother brought up some of the stuff that happened to me. And then my brain kind of unlocked it, I guess. But I never got counseling. I never worked through that. And how do you work through something like that as a child? You know what I mean?
That you hardly remember or can't pinpoint.
Right.
Exact
and then
things.
All these things start popping in your head as you go through life trying to...
Yeah, and as a teenage girl, that's a tough time to experience that.
I don't know the reasoning behind why she told me. I can't fathom telling my girls something like that. At
least not at 13.
No.
Yeah.
Not at all.
A little young.
And I was always like the middle person between my grandmother and my mom. So I like grew up really fast. I was like the parent to them.
Right.
So as time went on, like I just wanted to understand my mom, because I would always get, your mom's a terrible person, she chose drugs, all this other stuff, but I seen a different side of her.
Sure.
Like I seen the compassion and like she did care.
Right.
So I didn't understand. So I guess I grew up praying to understand her and wanted to really know what she went through. When I was 16, my uncle passed away.
Okay.
And he was like the closest one to me in the family. He would always like stand up for me with my mom or my grandma. We would...
Your protector.
Yeah. So he would always defend me because I was always arguing and being told you're just like your mom. And how do you take that as a kid? Like, they're talking bad about your mom and you're actually a really good kid, but you're being told you're just like her. Like, how do you process that?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when he passed away, I kind of like spiraled.
16.
Yeah, I was 16.
What does that look like? What does the spiral look like? Or I guess...
So when I was 16, that kind of really started everything. My grandmother blamed me for his death. And...
Why?
Because I was over there quite a bit and I would like hang out with him. But that weekend I chose to go hang out with my friends. I mean, I was 16. I wanted to hang out with my friends.
So you weren't there.
But since I wasn't there...
She blamed you.
She blamed me because, well, if I was there, maybe I would have been able to change it, right?
Right, which you... Yeah.
But how...
Can't really blame someone for that, yeah.
Right. But how do you process that as a 16-year-old?
Right.
And then I've already had all this other trauma. So I didn't go to his funeral. I went on a missions trip instead.
Okay.
Got in an argument with my grandma before that. Like, she got in my face. Like, she wanted me to, like, hit her. And I just kind of, like, pushed her out of the way so she would, like, stop yelling at me and getting in my face. And the church people really, like, stood by me, and I don't know where I'd be without them, honestly.
As I suspect they would, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Right. So I didn't want to go to his funeral. I didn't want to see him like that. I I couldn't process. So I went there for the week, and then when I came back, I started drinking every weekend, smoking,
Just immediately? Just like,
pretty much.
boom?
Yeah.
So what? Okay, so you've never had a drink or a drug up to that point?
I had.
Okay.
So my mom would always like give me wine coolers whenever I'd be with her. I was around weed growing up because my dad smoked
Sure.
and all that.
Yeah.
But alcohol was always like just given to me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always been like in my life,
Right.
except for, I want to say, 8 years in between. So when I left, it might have been like here and there during those 8 years, like a wine cooler or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I started really drinking at like 14. And it just really progressed after my uncle passed away.
Okay.
So it was just like fun and games here and there
Until
my uncle passed.
and then you were drinking
And then it was
too.
every single weekend. That's how I coped. I shut my feelings off. I didn't process anything. I didn't want to think about anything. I was all about party mode and getting outside myself. That's how I ended up pregnant with my first child at 17. And I just got with the wrong crowd. Didn't know that my child's father was on drugs really bad until late in the pregnancy. And he was abusive, mentally and physically, not physically, mentally and emotionally abusive. And when I had her, I gave birth, graduated high school, and moved out of my house all at the same time.
Question.
Okay.
When you were pregnant, did you stop?
I smoked weed here and there.
Okay.
That was during that pregnancy. So my oldest daughter's dad got me on pills after I had her, a couple months after I had her.
And we're
And
talking what kind of pills?
perk 30s,
Okay.
like straight to perk 30s.
Yeah. Straight toxy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it got really bad really quick. I went back to my work, and I have had theft charges. I got caught stealing 10 grand, over 10 grand.
That's a felony.
Yes, but they wasn't able to really prove it with the cameras, so it got dropped down, and I got like, don't do it again.
Okay. Wow.
And
That's lucky.
yeah.
Jesus.
Yes, it was. Very lucky.
Yeah.
Blessed. Sorry.
Yeah.
But I've been able to like expunge all my stuff, so I don't have a record
I have too,
anymore.
fortunately.
Right.
Helps a lot.
It does. So let's see. It went from the perk 30s, like really, really bad.
This is 17, 18?
18.
Okay.
And then it went to cocaine and heroin. And at first it was like just snorting it up. And then my oldest daughter's dad and his sister like introduced shooting it up. So it progressed like very, very fast.
What was the first time you shot up? How was it done? Like, I'm assuming someone did it for you.
Yeah.
And what was that like?
So I was actually in school for my MA. I was going for a medical assistant
Okay.
and using drugs the entire time. but got good grades.
Sure.
Nobody really noticed besides I lost a lot of weight.
Right.
And then one night, his sister helped me and did it for me for the first time.
How does that conversation play out, though? Like, you know, okay, is there not enough heroin, so we've got to shoot it? Or is it just like, hey, this is a better way to do it? Or...
It's cheaper and it's better than pills.
And you just got tied off and...
And there was a point where it was, if you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah.
Because I was always the person, like, I don't want to be like my mom. I don't want to, turn out to be like her.
Of course.
I'm never going to do this.
Yep.
Like, that was me. I was, like, strong advocate for, that's not going to be me. That's not going to be my life.
Right.
And then...
Of course.
Trying to figure out my mom and praying. Well, God opened those doors and showed me exactly why my mom was the way she was.
Which is...
Like, an addict and how...
She's an alcoholic, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, my mom died of an overdose, and it was, when she passed, it was almost easier to accept because I understood it.
Right.
You know, that was 5 years ago. I was in sobriety when she passed away, and, like, I knew why.
Yeah.
So it made it a little bit easier.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I understood, like you said,
right,
why she was the way she was.
Yep. And that's what I prayed for. I mean, I got it. It's been a long, hard road, but
Yeah.
I definitely understand it now. And she passed during my sobriety, too. She about 8 years ago, 8 years
Really?
ago. Yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, sorry to hear about yours. I get it.
It's a disease.
It is.
Yeah.
So where was I?
You were shooting up for the first time.
Yes. So that turned real bad real quick. Complete junkie. Couldn't really do anything besides try to get high. Me and my ex and our two friends would like go boost to get more and just...
Explain to our viewers what boosting is for those who don't know.
We would go steal and trade for drugs.
Just shoplifting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So from any stores, really.
Right.
And anything that the drug dealer would want.
Take.
Yeah. And again, it progressed from there. I've lost several apartments and cars, and every time I would get us on track to doing the right things, somehow we ended up right back doing the same thing but worse. And we ended up living with his sister down in Dayton, and it just made so much... It made it so much worse.
Why?
Because they were really into all the partying. Knew all these people and had it like every day.
So it became more accessible?
Yes.
Okay.
So that became like cocaine and heroin together. They would do crack. I never really smoked it, but that kind of led to me trying to get out of the situation, and I ended up leaving my oldest daughter's dad to get away from him and went to somebody that was worse. So he was mentally, emotionally, physically, sexually abusive, but I couldn't... I was trying to get away from... I thought that was the solution.
And it was the same.
It was not the solution.
Well, it was worse.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's my other daughter's dad.
Okay.
And I caught another charge for theft at the Walmart. So I freaked out because it was within the 2 years that they said don't go to Walmart. So fled to Florida.
So was it trespassing and shoplifting since you had already been caught, it sounds like? You said 2 years, something about 2 years, you can't go to Walmart?
Mm-hmm.
Did you get caught previously and they said you can't come back for 2 years?
Yeah, that was the 10 grand.
Okay, that was the 10 grand.
Yeah.
What did you steal that was worth $10,000 at Walmart?
It was money. I work there.
Oh,
Yeah.
so where did you get the money? In the safe? Or
Well, I work there, the cash register.
there was 10 grand in the cash register at Walmart?
Over a month time, maybe.
Okay, so you were like one ball and I'm kind of.
Kinda.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
So my problem is I have a photographic memory, and when I'm living that lifestyle, I use it for bad instead of good.
Makes sense.
So, so I got caught stealing a Furby while I was under the influence with my mom after all this, because I got away from my oldest daughter's dad, was with my other daughter's dad, trying to do the right things, but my mom always had another plan. So, I mean, I used with her, drank with her,
Yep.
ended up shooting with her,
Yep.
like the whole 9 yards. So I fled down to Florida with this guy, my other daughter's dad, because I was scared. And I didn't want to go to prison. So I fled, went down there. Let me back up. Before I went down there, I caught some more charges in Dayton for burglary, foreign, receiving stolen property, forgery, misuse of credit card.
Okay.
A bunch of things. Okay.
And these are all felonies. It sounds like.
All felonies.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting on probation in lieu of conviction. So those dropped off after I paid the fees after a few years.
Damn.
Yes. So, like, he took me down a even worse path. So I ended up in Florida with him at his grandma's house, and we got on meth for like 6 months.
Okay.
Like, I was shooting meth, doing meth.
First experience with meth?
First experience.
What was that like?
It was like a hyper focus for me. So I have like ADHD. So I don't know if that plays a factor in it.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it was more like a very hyper focus. And we were like out in the woods and just, I don't know. There was like nobody I knew down there. And that's what we did for 6 months.
Was shoot meth.
Was shoot meth.
How long did you stay out? I mean, were you staying up for days?
Yeah, it's like a blur because I try to get out of that situation. I had to call my mom and tell her, like, I need help. I remember one night I was standing in the middle of the road and just praying, like, God, get me out of this situation and I'll do whatever you want me to do. Like I said, he was abusive all around. And he even threatened to kill me and my mom if I left him. So I had to, like, tell him, I'll be back. I'm just going to, get my life together.
Yeah.
Told him whatever I had to leave. I had my oldest with me at the time. And she went through a few years of my addiction with me. Found out I was pregnant. Ended up going with this lady off of Craigslist that just wanted to help have somebody there with her driving.
Okay.
It's very strange. It could have been way.
How did you find this?
Worse.
How did you find this
My
woman?
mom did.
Okay.
So she paid her to bring me back to Ohio from Florida.
Okay.
Thank God I got the lady that I did instead of, it could have been way worse.
Right.
She was a very sweet lady. So that's how I ended up back in Ohio. And I was pregnant with my second. And
You still got all those charges out there.
still have all those charges out there. Yes. I would like to say that I stayed clean, but I wasn't able to. I hit up people that I knew wasn't doing the right thing, but I knew them, so I just wanted to go hang out.
I mean, there's no shame and guilt. I mean, and I can't speak to this because I'm not a mother, but I've interviewed enough people and met enough people in recovery that have children that couldn't stop for their children. So
Yeah.
it's not like that's uncommon. You know
Right.
what I mean? It sucks,
Yeah.
but again, it grabs a hold of you so much that you can't fucking stop. I mean, I've interviewed women that were pregnant and couldn't stop.
Right.
So it's not uncommon. It's just a very powerful disease of the mind.
Right. I was using before I found out I was pregnant. Like, I was using meth at first.
Mm-hmm.
And then I tried to do that cold turkey and I stopped for a little while, but I couldn't. I got on heroin again and I could not stop
Yeah.
after. And I had a lot of thoughts because of how abusive he was. Like, I wish I wasn't pregnant, and had all those negative thoughts. And growing up as a Baptist, like, my belief system, I
Oh,
can't,
right.
I can't terminate
yeah.
either because I don't believe in that.
Oh.
Right.
Okay.
But I didn't want to deal with it, and I numbed myself to it and was hoping maybe God would intervene, something. I mean, she came out healthy.
Just fine.
So
That's
God
good.
did protect her.
That's good.
So there's that. And after that, let's see. I still couldn't stop. I got children's services involved. And
You did.
No, the hospital did.
Okay.
Because they took a part of my umbilical cord and tested it, and
Drugs.
yeah.
Okay.
So she was good. She didn't go through withdrawals or anything, but it was still in my system.
Gotcha.
And yeah, that's how they got involved. And I still couldn't stop. I ended up getting my kids taken away from me in the court. Children's Services took them. It was devastating. My oldest was crying. I was crying. I fell to the ground crying.
What year was this? Just out of curiosity.
This was...
Or ballpark, I guess.
I want to say it was in 2013.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my kids got taken. I continued using, and I was just living like that. I was so numb because I was so strung out. I didn't see a way out.
So are you like freaking out about these felonies, like, or
No.
you just don't
I
care?
was just focused on the drugs.
Just whatever.
Yeah.
When it happens, it happens. When when they come get you, it happens.
Basically.
Okay.
Like, I had no thoughts in my mind about any of that, really. I was just more focused on my next high at this point.
Right.
I was not functioning
Yeah.
addict at this point.
Right.
I was really high
All
strung,
in. Yeah.
all in. It was, I used to live and lived to use. Where it turned, like, I kept trying to, I want to say, get clean or go on the right path. I kept trying to do that. And it boiled down to, I was about to get my kids taken. Like, completely taken away from me. My rights gone. And I went away for like a month because of my charges. So I did a little bit here in Franklin County, and then I went to Dayton for like 3 weeks.
Okay.
And that's how I ended up with in lieu of conviction, probation, all that.
For all those charges, you got probation.
Yeah.
Jesus. It's really good. It's a great deal.
Yeah.
Great
blessed.
deal.
Yeah. Could have been so much worse.
Yeah. I feel like I would have gone to prison. I never got a fucking OR for anything. Always had a bond.
Mm-hmm.
I just took drug court. That was my way out.
Well, with like that situation, they were focused on my ex and his brother and all of them because they were doing like burglary and robbery and everything else. I just got strung along with it
Yeah.
and got put in the middle of
I
it.
see.
So I wasn't really.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So there were co-defendants.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's see. I got really bad off after I had my second and almost lost them like completely. I went to my grandparents and was like, "Can you help me out? Can you take my kids for me while I try to figure out how to get clean?" And they did. They went through I forget what it's called for grandparents.
Temporary custody type deal?
Yeah, it's something like that,
Okay.
but it's called something kinship,
Maybe.
I believe.
Okay.
So they did that and worked with children's services. I ended up using again after I got out of jail. I planned on staying clean. That didn't happen. So when I got out, I had a friend that I met in there like come and she was picking me up because we were going to go to Virginia and I don't even know what the plan was.
I was about to ask. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No idea what the plan was. Apparently she had drugs on her. My mom asked me if I could get something for her before she left. And at this point, I've been clean for like a month because I was in.
And your mom was still asking you for drugs?
I was in jail. And she wanted me to get her something before I headed out. And this girl, right, because she didn't stop. She was still using.
Yeah. Been there.
So this girl just happened to have a whole bunch of heroin on her. I'm like, okay. So I looked at my mom. I was like, let me do it. Because I'd rather something happen to me than happen to you. And we've never got nothing from this. This
Oh,
girl.
so you were like, I'm going to test it?
Yeah.
Before you?
Right.
That was what your mind came up with?
That was my thinking.
That was your best thinking?
That was my best thinking at the time.
Okay.
So I ended up overdosing and dying. And they had to shoot me like 3 times with Narcan.
Jesus.
Yeah. I was gone for like 11 minutes. They did not think I was coming back. I remember waking up and the whole way to the hospital, I was like, I'm sorry. Like, that's literally all I could say the entire time I went to the hospital.
Yeah.
And my memory was shot. I didn't remember nothing. And it was like a blank slate.
When you say you don't remember nothing,
Yes.
what do you mean by that?
Like
From the event or like
my life.
Okay.
Like I literally had a blank slate.
So being out for 11 minutes
Yeah.
did something to your brain.
Right.
Okay.
Where I was I don't know. I can't explain it, but it was a blank slate. My memories came back slowly. And for me, I think God allowed that so I could be able to process my entire life as it like slowly came back instead of having that like burden on me. I would like to say that was the last time I used, but it wasn't. I stayed clean for a couple weeks and then I used one more time. And my mom overdosed in my arms, and I had to call the squad on her.
Or you've been there too.
And I thought she died. They took her, and I just continued to use that night. because I thought my mom just died.
Was
I didn't
gone.
know how to deal with that.
So when she overdosed, you called the squad?
I did.
Okay. They
So she fell
came.
out in my arms,
Right. Squad comes.
took her away. I stayed there.
They bring her back.
Did not. So the next day is my clean date. So 7/20/14.
Okay.
That's my clean date. And I was headed on the bus to go see her in the hospital. And God had other plans. I ended up at my church, the one that I grew up in. And my kids were in a play. So I went there to go see them in a play.
How were you on the bus going to one place and ended up at a church where your kids were
My thought
performing?
process, I don't know.
You
God changed
remembered, or you end just?
God changed my mind last minute.
Oh, so you knew the play was happening.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. It wasn't like a random
Mm-mm.
occurrence. Okay,
Mm-mm.
gotcha. Okay.
Nope.
So you go see your kids.
Right. And then a couple there I talked to about what was going on and was like, I need help. I can't get this. I can't do this by myself. And I ended up talking to my old youth pastor on the phone, and they were having a conversation with the pastor, and like, just I don't know what their conversation was, probably praying to see what they should do about it.
Sure.
And they ended up taking me in, and I stayed with them for a little while and got into the Amethyst program.
Mm-hmm.
And I did intensive outpatient through the Amethyst program for about a year and a half, and got my kids back and was able to do everything that I needed to do. Went back to school. I'm not going to say that I haven't had bumps in the road during my recovery. I ended up going back to school instead of staying with the Amethyst program because they wanted me to do that full time still. So we didn't really see eye to eye on my life in the direction that I thought I needed to go in.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in the rooms and stuff for about a year and a half, but I also saw things in the rooms that I didn't like, and I wasn't into the whole click and flashy stuff, I guess, that people like to focus on sometimes.
Yeah, I have issues with things like that too.
Right. So I actually stayed out of the rooms for 5 years and focused on God and my kids. I also didn't want my kids around that, if that makes sense. Like, I didn't want to drag my kids through the rooms. Sure. Because I didn't want to expose them to things that they didn't need to be exposed to.
I understand that.
So, and that might be because I was brought up Baptist and I have like a really strong core belief system, and I just wanted them to be kids. I did parent out of guilt for a little while, but I realized that's not helping them.
Parent out of guilt.
Parenting out of guilt.
What do you mean?
Letting them get away with a bunch of stuff.
Certain things, yeah. Okay.
And I realized like that wasn't the right way to do things. I've been through like parenting classes and trauma counseling, EMDR. So I've done so much work on all the traumas and everything that I've been through to be able to be who I need to be with my children. I have lost my grandfather who raised me, and I called Dad, in recovery. And that was almost 10 years ago. And a year after that, I lost my biological mom. So my dad that raised me, he died from COPD it was excruciating watching him growing up, but he was in the hospital for a week, drowning on his own fluid, and like that was so hard to process, trying to be clean, but I did it. And then my mom's death was horrific. She had drugs and alcohol in her system when she crashed her truck. She got decapitated.
Oh, man.
The cops showed up at my house.
So DUI, obviously. What happened? She hit a car? She hit
a tree. And I'd like to think that what the cops said, maybe a deer ran out in front of her and she swerved. I would like to think that, but she talked about death a lot. And she had a lot of mental health problems. So I think that it might have been done on purpose because of where she was mentally.
I'm drawing a lot of comparisons to my mother here because she did the same thing. She talked about her mom committed suicide, and she always talked about wanting to be with her mom because she was a kid, like 6, I think, when her mom committed suicide and she found her. And she always would talk about wanting to be with her mom. I can't wait to be back with my mom. Da, 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 da. And when she overdosed, I can't tell you it's intentional or was intentional, but part of me believes that there was some sort of intention there.
Right.
To be with her mom.
Right.
Or whatever she thought that meant.
Right.
So I get that.
Yeah. And I didn't really know how to cope with that one. I could rationalize my dad, I guess, because he was older. I kind of seen it coming with all the health problems, and like he had COPD.
Right.
He was given so long to live.
Sure.
But to try to process my mom's was the most difficult.
Yeah, and it was brutal.
It was. And I had to break it to my family. And like that process alone, I can't even really explain it fully. I was on autopilot for a while, just trying to go through life, numb.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't really deal with it too much for a couple years. And I had to go back through EMDR and try to like figure out my life again. And like all this time I've been single, like just focused on my kids. So I tried to start opening myself up to new possibilities, and went back to school for my LPN.
Okay.
And during that process, I met somebody, my oldest son, which is now 5, his dad,
Okay.
who is a chronic relapser, and that obviously that made things very difficult. We experienced emotional and mental abuse throughout that because of his own issues. So he relapsed several times, and the last time he ended up falling out, and my kids found him in the kitchen, and I was like, I can't do this.
That's it.
Yeah, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, because that's traumatizing as hell.
And I'm like, I don't want to put my kids through this. They don't deserve it. I can't be a support because I have to focus on my kids. So that's how that ended, and it was very hard trying to go through the process of court.
He survives, obviously.
Yes,
he came back.
he's
Narcan,
still alive,
yes.
and he's doing better with a bunch of consequences of his own, with his process that he went through.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to co-parent better. He sees him a little bit here and there. He's doing his best right now. But I take care of all my kids by myself at present time, and I have basically my entire recovery. I've gotten a little help here and there, but I'm a single mom of 4 kids now and do everything because
It's got to be a lot.
you have no idea.
Work
I have
and
so much on my plate.
yeah.
So I am a travel nurse now.
Okay.
And I love it.
Make decent money.
I make
It's
great
good money. Yeah, I was gonna say that's really good money.
Right. But I haven't been able to work for a couple months right now because I'm trying to figure out a lot in my life. I have to move because I need a bigger place. My babysitter relapsed and started smoking crack, so I wasn't able to get help with my son anymore to go to work. And I've been doing it alone. I met my recent kid's dad in AA, and he was doing everything that I would want in a person. And a friend of mine that I've known my entire recovery was like, hey, give him a shot. He's a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did. And he was doing everything for the first 4 months, everything that I would want in somebody. He was going to church. He was trying to learn about Jesus. He was trying to walk the talk, help people. He was all about helping people, doing the right things. Was there for me and my kids. Lived with me for a few months, 4 months, and this is the guy that I was like, I could marry this guy. I could see my life with him.
Mm-hmm.
And things happened to where he was trying to get his son back because I was like, if you need to be in your kids' life, I can't be with somebody that isn't trying to be with their kids. And he made choices that he thought he had to make and kind of shut me out of his life. So he left me after he found out I was pregnant to go do what he felt he needed to do, I guess. My side of things are different because I waited around for a year during the entire pregnancy and even afterwards because he was telling me all this stuff. He loved me. He was just working on himself and he's trying to get his life together and I believed him. But he went back to his old ways, and when I had our son, I was in labor for 3 days, and I ended up having an emergency C-section. He was stuck. He wasn't coming out. I almost died. I had everybody worried about me. I couldn't contact anybody because I was so drained, and stayed in the hospital for a little bit. And then a couple weeks later, I barely got any help. I was by myself with my kids. Thank God for my church, because 3 weeks after that, I had to call the squad. I almost died. I had blood clots in my lungs. And I stayed in the hospital for a month after I had my baby. And this was last year. So if I didn't have my church family behind me, I honestly, I don't know what I would have done, because I don't know where my kids would have went.
Do you recall any stories early on when you were still actively using, your children, were around, that really strike a chord with you that you really remember as a significant moment?
Can you elaborate a little bit?
Like I don't know, any, you mentioned the 10 grand at Walmart thing.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like you saw jail maybe a couple times, once,
Twice.
twice.
Mm-hmm.
So were there any other crazy instances in there that involved you and drugs and either your children or maybe not your children?
Yeah. So I ended up having a drug dealer live with us, and that was to get free drugs. And I had my oldest around that lifestyle.
Did he know? How old was he?
My oldest,
Yeah, at that time.
barely one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he didn't really know.
She didn't know.
She did not know
Yeah.
that it was a drug dealer, yeah.
Mm-mm.
But for you, it was convenient because it's right there.
So it became a trap house,
Oh,
pretty much.
really?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Did you help man the door, or
Not me. No.
you just lived there while they trapped out of the house?
Yeah, pretty much.
You and your daughter?
And my oldest daughter's dad, because I ended up getting back with him. I thought that was the solution. That wasn't the solution.
No.
Not at all.
No.
I walked the streets a little bit because I met this girl that stripped and like walked the streets and just made money. So I ended up like just hanging out with her, seeing what she did. Never really fully got into all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely experienced a lot of stuff with that. Put myself in many dangerous situations.
Right.
And I even once, well, I would say twice, I had sex for drugs during this process. And one of them, my oldest daughter's dad tried to like push on me so he could get high too.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't have very many instances that happen, thank God, but I was a survivor of that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. That's horrible. And we've interviewed a couple of girls recently that were stuck in human trafficking,
Yeah.
and it's a vicious cycle. And
It really
you get
is.
lured in and you don't even realize it, and then you're in it.
Right.
And then you can't get out.
Right.
So you're fortunate you avoided that entire situation.
Yeah.
So tell me about life today. Tell me, what does your life look like today? Are you happy? I mean, I know you still got some things you're working through, it sounds like, and
Yeah.
you've got some time,
Mm-hmm.
which is great.
I'll have 11 years in July.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. What's your sobriety date?
7/20/14.
7/20. Mine's 7/3/16. Okay, so
Okay.
July.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's your life like today?
I just take care of my kids. I just got my 5-year-old son, tested for autism, and he's diagnosed with autism. So it's been a struggle trying to get that process done, but after 2 years, he finally is in a special needs preschool. I haven't, like I said, I haven't been able to work for several reasons. I really don't have much support. I am my kids' support and take care of them full time by myself, and just have to figure out how to do that. And it's been a struggle trying to do that this time around with 4 kids.
Yeah.
But I am a travel nurse and I am a self-contractor, so I'm able to pick up work whenever I want and can. So I'm working on trying to figure out like new babysitting and all that.
Getting back to work and
Right.
that routine.
And then I need to find a bigger place to stay because I'm in a 2-bedroom right now with 4 kids, and that's tough.
You've got no records, so that helps.
I got no records. Yep.
Yeah, that helps.
Got it all
Finding a
expunged.
place, because it's damn near impossible to find a place with a felony.
Right. But my credit also kind of plummeted
Yeah.
when I got with my youngest daughter's dad. I was in school for my RN. I was doing good for myself. I was about to get a house. I was in the process of, owning my own home, going for my RN, trying to, I was on a really good track. And then got pregnant and had to drop out of school and just tried to work as much as I could, but had problems, complications with my pregnancy, and then of course afterwards. And during this process, like, I lost faith in God. I I was like, why are you allowing me to go through this hell at almost like at 10 years clean? Why am I still going through all this when all I tried to do was love him? I was like, I didn't even do anything wrong. But God had other plans, and everything happens for a reason. It's still a process, so I'm not going to fully go into like all of that. But I was blindsided by a lot here recently, and I just wish that things happen differently. And a lot could have been avoided if, people could just be honest. And that's something I try to live off of, is honesty, because I don't need to lie about nothing today.
Right.
And I wish more people would get that. So I felt led to speak and share my testimony with more people. Last week I was at a detox center. Next week I am going to be at a different detox center. And I try to reach those people. So I don't do like the whole AA how you're supposed to, I guess, whatever. Sure. I have a lot of mentors, and I finally found somebody that I can relate to and I feel can help me spiritually, because money and material things never motivated me, because I have family and I was brought up pretty good.
Right.
And experienced a lot. So I come from money. Like, that doesn't intrigue me.
Sure.
I needed somebody who was more spiritually fit than I was, but also experienced some of the stuff I did.
Help you internally. Yeah.
Right. Because that's what I needed. And I literally just found somebody after over 10 years. And that was in CR, Celebrate Recovery.
Oh, yep.
So it's gotta be.
I went to Celebrate Recovery once when I was in active addiction. My old neighbor took me, and I remember I went into the room and they were all like telling me how Jesus was the only way I was going to get sober, and I was still actively using. And I remember telling them, like, so you're telling me that if I don't accept Jesus, I can't get sober? And I argued with the entire fucking room the entire time, because I'm a logical, analytical kind of guy.
Yeah.
So like when I hear that, I'm just like, what? Like, I have to accept this specific thing in order to get sober, when we all know that there's plenty of other routes you can take. And, for you, it works. Right? For me, something else worked. For the next person, this worked. Mm-hmm. And I just remember arguing with those people, like, you're crazy, blah, 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 which, whatever. Wasn't for me. It doesn't matter. I got sober, but I remember doing that, and it was, I was an asshole.
Well, that reminds me. So when I first tried to get when I first got clean, I cold turkeyed it, got into amethyst, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with my background being a strong believer in Baptist, I'm a
Mm-hmm.
Christian Baptist, right? Raised up really strong, had to be perfect, couldn't do anything wrong.
Yep.
Very perfectionist, like type of lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when I came into the rooms, every single time we would have this group, I would be like, how is this a disease? I don't get it. How is this not a moral issue? You
Interesting.
know what I mean? Like how am I not a bad person instead of this is a disease? I went in there, I want to say for like a month straight. Everyone was sick of me asking the same question, but I couldn't wrap my brain around it. I was like, I need proof. I'm not just going to
That it's a
believe.
disease.
Yes, I need that proof. Like I'm very, like you said, I think my brain
Yeah.
thinks differently. And I'm like, I don't get it. How is it? And they're like, just basically shut up and just believe what they're telling you. And I'm like,
Right.
I can't do that.
No, and the proof for me from like the disease standpoint comes from just personal lived experience. I mean, I worked at a correctional facility, which is a whole nother story, and I've met so many guys that yeah, I mean it's obvious to me. It's obvious it's a disease, and especially the genetic part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't deny that my mom who overdosed and was an addict, her father who died of cirrhosis of the liver, her mother who committed suicide, that did not have some sort of genetic effect on me when I had my first drink or drug that
Mm-hmm.
turned something on in my brain that said, oh, this is it.
Right.
And then I couldn't stop.
Well, they showed me this documentary on it was a neuroscientist that went through addiction who put his life work into figuring out if this was a disease. The documentary is called Pleasure Unwoven. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if you've heard of it,
Mm-hmm.
but it breaks it down. And after I seen that, I was like, oh, okay. So I have been able to start healing
Gotcha.
after that.
Gotcha.
I needed to know like this wasn't because I was a bad person.
You wanted evidence, yeah.
Yes. I wasn't a bad person. I
Right.
was making
Sick.
Yeah, I was sick. I was making choices that I would never make sober.
Right.
Like that wasn't me.
Right.
And I needed that.
Are you happy today?
That's a tough question because I love most of my life and where it is, and I've just been through a lot of trauma from my ex and dealing with all of that. But I would say that no matter what, the worst day sober beats the best day using anytime.
I'm going to respectfully disagree with you, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Just because I had a lot of really fucking good times out there.
I mean, I
Getting
did
high.
too. Don't get me
Like,
wrong. Like, I
for
had
a while.
I had some good times too, but it wasn't really authentic.
But when it got
wasn't
bad, it got fucking bad.
right.
And the fun times, I mean, they lasted probably through high school. And then once I dropped out of college in 2010, that's when it just turned and it was fucking ugly. So, you know, high school really was the only time that I can sit here and say, like, I had better days getting fucked up than some of my, you know, worst days sober.
Yeah.
You know, like for
Yeah.
instance, the first time I used Oxycontin versus the day my mom died of an overdose,
Yeah.
I'm going to take the first day using Oxycontin because it felt fucking amazing versus to me that's a better day than my mom dying.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
You know,
I do.
I know the statement. I've heard it a million times
Yeah.
and it's just like that time slot is so small
Right.
where it was fun.
Right.
And then it wasn't.
I mean, I remember like getting drunk and walking around Grove City, because that's where I grew up, walking around Grove City with some friends and just having a good time. Ended up like climbing a dumpster because my friend threw my bottle in there, was like, "You're done." And I don't know. I mean, I remember good times too, but it was more like I was numbing myself.
Yeah.
I would rather feel the
Right.
feelings.
The emotions.
Right. And know that I'm alive.
Yeah.
Like I'm really like I'm alive.
No, I agree.
And I guess that's why I say that.
I learned that recently on a trip with my coworkers where they all sat by the pool and drank. We went to the Bahamas, my last job. They sent all the top performers to Nassau at this beautiful resort, and they all sat at the fucking pool and drank. And I went and snorkeled, fed the pigs, went to a private island, did all this shit
Right.
while they sat at the resort. Like I was present. I lived.
Right.
To me, yes, that is better than fucking using
Absolutely.
any day of the week. So it's, you know,
There's
it's
so
a
much
two-way
more to
street.
life
Yeah, it's a two-way street. Like,
than using.
yeah.
And
I
when
agree.
you're using, like that's really what you do. That's what you think about. When's
Yeah.
the next time? Let's do this.
Right.
Okay, well, there's so much more to life than being on drugs and alcohol. And I wish more people understood that. And it makes me think, so when I was at the recovery center and sharing my testimony there, I was basically telling them, I don't believe in that saying where relapse is a part of recovery.
I don't either. I was actually taught that early.
Yeah, I do not believe that. And I wish more people would understand that it does not have to be a part of recovery.
It's not a requirement.
It is not a requirement.
Correct.
And if more people understood that, less people would die. And when people say that, it's giving people an excuse.
It's an out.
It is an out. And so many people have died because they think that way.
Plus, the streets are so much more dangerous today than they were.
Yes.
Like when I was
and
using.
drugs aren't the same either.
Well, you can't. Like if I wanted to go out and find Xanax, I'm going to get some pressed bullshit that's going to kill me.
Right.
Like that's the world today.
Yes.
It's not the same as 2009, 2010, 2011 when I was fucking out there doing that stuff. Like it's not the same.
No.
Like you'll get something that's cut with fentanyl or xylazine, which is the new thing that is killing people, and the Narcan doesn't bring you back.
Right.
So yeah, like.
And I've seen so much being a travel nurse. So
I'm sure.
much.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And with everything, I can't get
Comes
into
with the
all
job.
of that,
Comes
but
with the job. Yeah.
Like
absolutely.
I've experienced so much death and everything else with my job, as well as, you know,
Right.
in the rooms and addicts relapsing and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And I just, if I could say anything, I would be like, you do not have to relapse. It is not a requirement. Just don't pick up no matter what.
It's funny. I was going to ask you to deliver a message and you just did it. So you nailed it. I mean, that is a beautiful message. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to come on here.
I appreciate you having me.
Different take, really cool, interesting, different. So thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.